So you wanna be a picture book writer, then you gotta write picture books. And you're gonna need a bucket load of bright ideas for titles, plots, and hooks. If you're partial to prose or you're raring to rhyme, then repeat after me, it's a challenge, but I'm gonna tackle each story 1 month at a time with 12 by 12.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 12 by 12 Picture Book Podcast. We're so glad that you're here with us today. We are recording this during Black History Month, and so we have Leah Schanke with us today, who has written a fantastic book called Freedom at Dawn, Robert Small's Voyage Out of Slavery. It was illustrated by Obo Moses and published by Albert Whitman. And if you're on YouTube, you can see this beautiful cover with beautiful color of the sunrise there, which is of dawn, as it were. So anyway, so glad you could be with us, Leah. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. This is fantastic. So this is a stunning book, and I know it's your debut book. So I'd love to ask, how did you know you wanted to write picture books, and kind of what was your journey to that?
It was a very long journey. As a student, probably about middle school, I started writing poetry, full of teenage angst. And I wrote that up until graduate school, and then I just stopped writing altogether.
Yeah.
So, and then my story took, I think, as a typical path. I had children, and reading the picture books to my children, that sparked an interest, because I was like, wait, this is very like tight, poetic writing. That's what I used to do. And I decided to pursue it professionally, which is not what I did with poetry. So that's where I started.
I love that. So where did you, or how did you discover the story of Robert Smalls?
I was doing research actually for another story, and I just came across this little nugget, and it was about a Black Civil War hero being forced off of a streetcar in Philadelphia, and how that caused such a stir because, it was done because of the color of his skin. And they're like, wait, he's a Civil War hero. How can you treat him like that? And I was like, why do I not know who this person is? So I put it to the side. And then later on, I started doing research and was so inspired. I wanted to tell his story as well.
So can you give us just like the quick pitch of this book for people who haven't had a chance to see it yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a story about, it's told from his daughter's point of view, and it's about escaping slavery.
And he is I love this, he's a boat pilot, right?
Yes, yeah, so it's a true story of one man's escape from slavery. And he took his family with him. So yeah, he was a boat pilot. He was very brilliant, and he was, forced to, because he was enslaved, he was forced to actually work for the Confederacy on this ship.
And how many people did he save when he left?
I believe there were about 16 people on the ship. That's so amazing. The crew and their families.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. So this is Robert Small's story, and you said that you've told it from his daughter's point of view. How did you, I happen to know because you were a featured author for us and you talked a little bit about this journey. How did you decide to tell, well, first of all, like, how did you decide that Robert Small's story was good for a picture book? Because it's a heavy topic. There's some peril in here for sure. And then how did you come to tell it from Lizzie's point of view?
Yeah, I think I am really motivated by wanting to tell history to younger readers. And so, I will say there were agents and editors who said, oh, this story is, you have to age this up. It's got to be for older group. And I don't agree. I think we're so we're so out of touch with a lot of our history. And so I want to bring those stories to the younger age group before we start picking our own stories. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So how did you land on telling it from Lizzie's point of view and not Robert's point of view, since he's the main character.
Yeah, so I, wrote like a standard, straightforward biography the first time I wrote it, and I realized, this doesn't stand out in the market. There are other biographies on him on the picture book level, and so I just put it in the drawer. And they said, okay, I wasn't seeing it, but my critique group did a brainstorming. So let's brainstorm story ideas. And so there was a lot of items on that list.
That's good. That's a good brainstorm session.
Yeah. And so one of them was telling a story from a different perspective. So we only had a month to write a draft, which for historical fiction is really a challenge.
Right.
So I decided, well, let me take a story I put away and see what I can do with it. And this is the story I chose to work with. And I said, his family was with him. So what if I told the story from his daughter's perspective? And after the month, we shared our story, shared our drafts, and my critique group went, okay, wait, you have something here. Like, I'm working on that.
Thank goodness for critique groups. This is why we need critique groups.
Exactly.
And I love what you said earlier about, we need to be sharing more of history with our youngest readers. And I think you landing on Lizzie to tell that really connects, it resonates with the younger reader. But also, I don't know that we give our young kids enough credit for how brave they are. And Lizzie in this book is very brave, and I think that kids can relate to that, bravery and being able to stand up when something is scary. So I love that you were able to tell it from her point of view. So I did in the author's note, you talk a little bit about Lizzie, and she had 16 kids. Is that right?
I think it was 11 children.
11? Okay, yes. She had a lot. She had a lot of children. And you talked about how many descendants of Robert Smalls. I'm wondering, were you able to, in the course of researching this, were you able to talk to any of them, or?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
No.
No, I didn't reach out to them.
But you talked about him saving his crew and their families, and then you think of how many children she had and how many descendants he had, and just this one act, how many people are here because of it. I think that's so inspiring, Yes. So you talked about research and how doing historical fiction in a month, trying to get that to your critique group would be a challenge. I'm wondering how long you spent on writing this book from the first draft to when it was published, and then what was your research process like?
Yeah, it's hard to say in terms of time, because I lost track because I put it away. But I would probably altogether, I'd probably say over 2 years working on it. Yeah. There's a lot of initial research and then drafting, and as you know, there's many revisions.
Yes.
Once you have a draft, it needs everything needs a lot of work.
Yes, yeah. But you can't work it until it's on the page, so you need those. You need
exactly.
Those rough drafts. Yeah.
You can't edit nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and in terms of research, I read a lot of U.S. History books on both the adult and kidlit level.
Oh, okay.
On the kidlit level, sometimes it's a little easier to digest than some of these very.
It is. No, books. I agree. I've learned so much from reading picture books. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is great. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's what the Jeopardy champs do too. They read picture books.
Yes, absolutely. Picture books are for everyone. People don't realize it.
Absolutely.
And it was great when a librarian told me, she goes, this book, I know it's a picture book, she said, but everyone can read this book. So that was great to hear from a librarian.
Absolutely. So do you have some favorite U.S. history books that you go back to when you're writing history, or do you have some favorite picture books that you came about in the process of this?
No, I think that it depends upon the subject. So for this particular story, there's a new biography came out in 2018 by Kate Lineberry. Oh. And some of the previous works had some errors in it. And I think she was so well researched. She really cleared up some things. So it depends upon the subject. I try to get something very specific to the subject, although I do read general Civil War history books and other U.S. history books.
Yeah.
I try to zero in. And for this story, I found the New York Times article from that year of the escape in 1862.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and then Harper's Weekly had an illustrated article the summer after the escape. So those are
Wow.
really good sources that are closer to when it actually happened.
Yeah, that's incredible to be able to have that. What did you find most challenging about writing this book?
Yeah, I think it really was sort of holding to my view of the book, even though, like I said, I was told, oh, this is too heavy of a topic. It's really not for younger readers. You should write the story for older group. It's hard to hold on to your vision when you don't have the credibility of the person saying that to you. Like, oh, I'm an agent, I'm an editor, so I know better. And it's hard to hold to that and go, you know what, that's not my vision. So maybe this is not the right person to work with. That's very hard to do. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I stuck to it, because I just felt like, no, I don't agree. I think it's really, something that's at the right, and that's the thing about picture books. And I know you have a podcast on darker topics.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It is, you have to find a way to make it age appropriate. And I think
Right.
telling the story through Lizzie's eyes,
Yes.
I did that because I would think, okay, if you're 6, you're not going to know all about the torpedoes in the water and all this stuff, all the military stuff. You're not going to know.
Right.
So,
Right.
what would she know? What would she see?
Right. And I think, like, I'll just show a couple of pages here, and she is talking about Mama and Papa and baby Robert. And I think that kind of allows the young reader a way in to relate to her, but also maybe softens things a little bit, because she's talking about her family and her mama and her papa and how they do things together and all of that. So I think it was such a fantastic way to go. And shout out to your illustrator, Obo Moses. I mean, these
Yes.
illustrations are really stunning. They almost look like, some of them look like they're painted, and the lighting in the book is fabulous.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yes, I feel very blessed.
So
illustrating this book. Yes.
Yeah. Did you so with it being historical, did you have any like notes as far as what the boat looked like, what the did you communicate with him at all, or offer any sort of input into the illustrations?
I didn't communicate with him, but what I do with my manuscripts is, where you would normally put art notes. Sometimes those notes are actually historical information.
Oh,
And
okay.
I put that on the cover letter, so within the manuscript. But I guess, I think if you don't know the story and you're trying to read it, you're like, no context, Well, if you write a story about Abraham Lincoln, well, a lot of us know about Abraham Lincoln, so you gotta follow along.
Right.
So I do that in my manuscript, and then through the editing process, my editor would ask me questions. So, how many people were there on the ship? Because that's not in my manuscript. So, yeah, and it sort of spoke to how you really have to know your story well. Even though you're telling this little piece of it, you have to know all of this, not only to write it, but to work with the editor and the illustrator. And one of the things that happened was the illustrator also was doing research and discovered that the normal, I say, the stars and bars flag that we know today, the Confederate flag, that flag didn't exist when this story happened.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so the illustrator discovered that.
That's
and
amazing.
And said, well, so then my editor said, well, do you want to be historically accurate, or do you want this to be something recognizable?
Right.
And I said, I want it to be historically accurate.
Yeah. So is this the flag here?
Yes.
Okay. So it has 2 red stripes, 1 stripe down the middle, for those of you in the podcast and aren't on YouTube, and then the circle and I'm assuming that's what the 11 stars of the Confederacy or something similar to that. So it's a circle of them. That's amazing. And the other detail that I thought was interesting that I wouldn't have thought about is when they're passing boats in the harbor. I got it here. Oh, and he has like 3 different boats on here, and I wouldn't have thought about
Yeah.
the different types, right? Because it's
Yes.
almost like the planter is the one that Robert Smalls is piloting, and it's
Yes.
more of like a steam, like a, what's the word I'm looking for? A steamship,
It's a
or
steamer. Yeah.
yeah, and it has the big
Yeah, the side wheel.
yeah, thank you. And then the other, it looks like the Confederacy has the, the larger, what what in my
Yeah,
head I think
massive.
of as like a pirate ship.
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
then it has this other smaller boat that was probably a watch boat, and I
Yes,
just love
exactly.
that sort of historical detail. So I'm glad that you said historically accurate, because I think that's fantastic. Um, it's so great, Leah. This is what was your thought when you first saw the illustrations?
I was floored. I was
Yeah.
floored. Um, my editor said, we're going to give you a couple of choices. And then about 2 weeks later, he goes, I know I said give you choices, but you have to see the artist portfolio. I think he's the one. And then I said, okay, send me a link. And I was like, okay, you're right. But this book is beyond what that portfolio, it was beyond what I imagined. Like,
Oh,
I love it.
that's so great. So did you submit this through an agent, or did you submit it directly to Albert Whitman?
I did it through a pitch event,
Oh, wow.
and it was through Savvy Authors.
Oh,
Um, and so you can go on to the editor or agent's page and do a pitch. And then in a few weeks, they tell you who requested. And so he requested my story. And then it was really quick. Maybe 10 days later, I got an offer. It was very fast.
wow. That's amazing. Wow. That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then how long from when it was picked up to when it was published?
So the offer was in October 23, and it was published in April 2025.
Wow, that seems really fast for
It was a timeline. Like, can I get back to you on this Monday? No, I need it in 2 days. I have to get this to the illustrator. Okay, I got it.
Okay, that's amazing. I remember you've been a 12 by 12 member for a long time, and I remember when the announcement came through and just how excited I was for you, because I know how long you'd been working on, putting together picture books and writing picture books, and I was personally so excited for you.
Thank you.
So to hold it in my hand, and again, it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. Is, I don't know, I feel like a proud mama. So what do you, for people, other writers out there who are interested in writing nonfiction picture books or historical fiction picture books, what do you have any sort of advice or any tools of the trade that you want to share?
I would say do lots of research. Like I said, you have to know the story so well. Like I said, not only to write it, but to be able to work with an editor. And keep track of every source, every quote, whatever. It's like, keep track of it, because if you have to go back, it's it's daunting. It's daunting. Yeah. So I would say keep very good notes. I keep a separate Google Doc just for the historical notes, separate from the manuscript.
Okay. All right. And then do you have like links to articles and all of that? And in your doc, do you have, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I had a timeline which didn't make it to publication, but
share it with us. What do you have, any like little, what was like your favorite thing on the timeline that didn't make it into the book?
I think that that he after the escape, he went to DC and he met the Secretary of War, and he was while they don't know what that conversation exactly was, his escape just proved the common view that that African Americans, weren't smart. They couldn't do stuff. And so there was a debate about whether to have the Black Army. And so people wanted to have Black regiments, and there were people saying, no, they can't fight. And no, this won't work. So his escape showed how bright people of color can be. Right. And because he was intrepid, he was brilliant. He didn't learn to read till afterwards, so he had to memorize everything.
Oh wow! Yeah,
he couldn't take notes. He couldn't read notes, so everything was in his head. He knew everything. And so it's believed that he was one of the voices that convinced the federal government to allow the formation of Black Union troops.
That's incredible. And then, okay, so we've already said he escaped, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling too much here, but in your author's note, you talk about how he becomes a U.S. representative?
Yes.
Right? For, 25 years or something? Like he was...
5 terms. Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. And I love the pictures that are included in the back matter as well. One from Civil War time and one is him as a U.S. representative. So that's just incredible. Thank you for sharing it with us. So do you want to share anything that you're working on now? Is it all top secret? Are you doing more nonfiction, or are you doing any fiction, or what are you working on?
I'm still working on historical fiction. That's what I really like. I do have a spark and an idea about the U.S. Life Saving Service. That's what existed before the formation of the U.S. Coast Guard. So I'm doing some research on that. We'll see if it becomes something. And then I'm also working on a middle grade novel that's a Great Migration story. I'm a product of the Great Migration.
Wow.
It's about African Americans moving, from the South to the North in the 20th century. So.
Wow. Oh, incredible. Well, I can't wait to read that. All right. So we'll finish up with the question we always ask our guests, and that is, what picture book do you wish you would have written?
Yes. 21 Steps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that might surprise some folks. By Jeff Gotsfeld and illustrated by Matt Tavares. I have actually a lot of military service in my family. And so this, telling the story of the tomb of the unknown soldier, through, it is also an example of taking a fresh perspective on something. So it's actually told from the point of view of the unknown soldier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just so poetic and very moving. And it, for me, it makes me feel very patriotic. It's very inspirational. So, I would like to write a story like that.
That's incredible. I love that. Yeah, gosh, that's giving me goosebumps just thinking about it. So fantastic pick. So thank you for being with us today, Leah. And for those of you listening on the podcast or on YouTube, the link to Leah's book, Freedom at Dawn, Robert Small's Voyage Out of Slavery, will be linked in the show notes, either underneath the video or in the podcast notes or on the blog. So I hope you'll check out this book. Like I said, it's gorgeous and it's an important story. And it's done so perfectly, Leah. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, this was fantastic. So thank you for listening, everybody. Catch us next time on the 12 by 12 Picture Book Podcast. Bye.
Do it together so never you fear. It's a handy little way to help you kick into gear. You're amazing, exciting. Look out! 'Cause you're writing 12 by 12. 12 manuscripts. 12 by 12. 12 picture books. 12 by 12.